Hello everybody. Today is the first actual real video about minimalism related topics. And today I wanted to share a quick list. We'll leave the discussion of what is minimalism, who is a minimalist, and so on for later. These are big topics and we'll need to cover them as well. But for right now, we're going to do a bit of a concise and very short list of things that helped me on my way to minimalism: decrease purchasing. Buying things that you don't need is one of the hallmarks of a bit of a hoarder, and a lot of us have that in us, unfortunately. Me included. I used to be quite a hoarder. Our small apartment in Montreal was absolutely stuffed with things I wasn't using, with clothes I wasn't wearing, with makeup I was collecting and wasn't doing anything with. So I understand the impulse, the desire to hoard, especially in our world, which really quite frequently tells us that we need to define ourselves through things, through material possessions, through things we buy. Purchasing things is supposed to somehow sharpen up our image of whatever it is that we're trying to be. You know, which coffee table defines me as a person? Reminds me of a scene in Fight Club, where Edward Norton, his character that is furnishing his home from IKEA and is trying to get a respectable wardrobe. So all of that is quite interesting, and we'll talk about sort of films that really turned me on to thinking about it, and documentaries later. But today, we're going to talk about the tips that I've discovered worked for me to decrease purchasing. There are lots of these kinds of videos online, and everybody has their own way. I had found a lot of things very useless in terms of advice on minimalism. It just doesn't work, and mostly because everybody's lifestyle is different. So obviously what works for one person will probably not work for another. But if you have a similar lifestyle, similar views to a YouTuber, then you're more likely to actually find advice that they give helpful, obviously, because your values and lifestyles are more or less aligned, or at least along the same vein. So this is for all of you who feel like they have a similar mindset to mine and are very practical people and trying to sort of downsize, reduce, and focus on what is important. My first tip would be put temporal distance between when you see something you like and when you purchase it. This is very important and actually works wonders. Within the same realm as unsubscribing from newsletters, you know, not having temptation. But most importantly, if you like something a lot, my initial impulse would be to go ahead and buy it. Well, I like it, I can afford it, therefore I purchase it. And then it ends up in this big bad landfill that is my closet, and it's of no use to anybody. Its utility is reduced to near zero, and it starts pressing on me instead of being useful. So putting temporal distance, meaning putting time between when you see something, you like it, you think, oh, I might want it, give yourself some time. The sale might end, but ultimately everything you spend on sale is still money you spend, and it's still purchases you make, and it's still stuff that then you have to take care of and deal with. So ultimately, the best way to decrease purchasing is to put certain barriers between you and you parting with your money. Time being a very good barrier, meaning that once I actually have time to ruminate and that initial impulse of, oh, I like that, goes away, it's much easier to rationalize and think about whether, well, I like it, but do I need it? What will it add? What will it take up the place of? Do I really need it? And then over time, I feel like 90% of the time, really, I don't. And I don't miss the things that I don't buy. And I never think back in a month thinking, oh, I should have bought that. That happens so very infrequently that I think this is a good tip. So putting time between when you want something and when you purchase it. Also under that tip goes the tip of shopping on sales, which in my experience so far, has completely saved me a ton of money. Because most of my purchases on sale really do have that, you know, time pressure element, where I don't have the time to think the purchase through. I just like, oh, it's on sale, it's in my size now, let's grab it. No, you waste so much more money buying things on sale than you do thinking through purchases and purchasing this one thing that isn't on sale but is exactly what you want. Forget about the sale shopping unless something you really truly want and you marked and you've been looking at for a long time goes on sale, then it's worth it. In all other instances, I find myself being far more wasteful and cluttering my space a lot more if I shop on sales. Tip number 2, and a lot of minimalism, it really happens in here. So it's not your surroundings, it's not your stuff, it's not the crap that is around you. Decluttering and cleaning things out intentionally is a reflection of what happens in your brain, in your head. That's where minimalism resides, and that is where all the important stuff that has to do with your understanding of yourself and the world around you, that's where it happens. That's where the magic happens. It's all just here. So my second tip is the tip for mentality, not for surroundings, and it has to do with when you're thinking about what you own and what you have, focus on the pluses, not the minuses. Focus on what you already have and not what you don't have. Focus on what is already in your possession and what you're happy with, than what the objects and the subjects after which you're lusting. So the mentality of being happy and content with what you have and focusing on what you have rather than what you don't have is going to be infinitely helpful in, well, A, making you a happier person, because let's face it, this is the whole point of changing your mentality and trying different things, is really to be happier. At least for me it is. And self-improvement and all of that comes with for the ride. It really focuses on trying to find a balance where you can get the most happiness for the least effort, and that is where we are. Next tip is also really mental tip, which again is what I think minimalism is all about. It's about the way you view the world and feel yourself within that world, partially how you relate to information sphere, partially of how you relate to stuff, objects around you. But it all starts with you. It all starts with your brain, with your head, with some decisions and clarity. So my third tip is really going to have to do with other people. One of the most toxic things you can do for yourself is compare yourself to other people. And I'm not talking about being inspired by other people or being motivated by other people. That's great. Use all that energy that you can harness to your advantage. But comparing yourself to other people is actually quite toxic and very different. When you see something, you admire something, you can just admire it and not compare yourself to it, meaning that, oh, well, this person is doing this and this traveling. Say, for me, I tend to compare myself to people when it comes to traveling because that is something I value very highly and would like to do in the future. However, currently, it's not a big option for us. Local travel is the only thing that we can do for a variety of reasons. So when I see people traveling, I tend to think, this is my example, it might not apply to you, I tend to think, oh, what are they doing right that I'm doing wrong? How come they can do it and I can't swing and I can't seem to have enough time off, or I can't seem to have enough funds. But ultimately it's useless because you're in a different people in different points of your lives with different priorities and different thoughts altogether. It's absolutely vital that you focus on yourself, and that's the only way to get your life better, is really focusing on what you want, what you need, and what you can do. Comparing yourself to other people will only hinder you, take away energy, and decrease your happiness. So don't do it. And the third tip that also has to do with our mental picture of who we are and where we are in this universe, where do we belong, has to do, the third tip has to do with looking at the bigger picture, keeping the bigger picture in mind. Once you align your priorities and your plan of how to get there and how to get the most out of what it is that makes you happy, what it is that is valuable to you specifically, because we all have those points different. Like our values can be very different and can occupy different positions in our hierarchy of values. So the point being here is keep in mind the big picture. Your system of values, which you should really determine for yourself. You should know what your values are, what are the most important things to you, what are the things that are less important. And you should be willing, if you do want to achieve things, you know, you have only finite amount of energy, finite amount of resources, finite amount of time specifically as a resource. You can only achieve so much, and the people who make these leaps and achievements, they focus their energy, time, and effort where it matters. And where it matters is going to be different for everybody because, again, our values are all different. So keeping in mind the big picture of what it is that you want to achieve is absolutely vital for us being able to get there, because nobody can draw a map to a place that doesn't exist. Once we figure out where it is that we need to go, a picture that aligns with what it is that is truly valuable to us as people, not what it is that society tells us, not what it is that your mom told you should achieve in life, but what it is that aligns specifically with your particular viewpoint of this world, your particular value system. That is where we're going to make some strides in achieving happiness. And minimalism has a lot to do with it. Decreasing purchasing has a lot to do with it. Once we start focusing on what is truly important, that cute lipstick that just came out is not as important anymore. That top that you saw on Instagram and wear is not really that important anymore. Once you hire in a hierarchical order, prioritize what it is specifically for you that is going to be the most important thing for you, I can almost guarantee that buying a stupid top or spending money on the next pair of shoes is going to be so low on your priority list. And if you're focusing your energy and attention on higher priority items, you're going to definitely spend less because most of our high priority items aren't things that we can purchase with cash or credit, depending on how badly you are into this material, wrapped into the materialist consumerist culture. But very, very important to actually figure out what is important to you and go for the things that are important to you. Is family important to you? Well, buying your child new toys is not the only way you can show them love. Is career important to you? Well, buying a new pair of heels is not going to impress your boss because most likely they don't give a crap. Nobody, or almost nobody you would respect would care that you have a Louis Vuitton bag. It doesn't matter. Like, nobody who is truly worthy of your respect will give a crap about that. So prioritization will A, increase happiness, B, get you closer to the goals that actually matter to you, C, decrease purchasing. So clear priorities, keeping the bigger picture in mind, super, super important. So these are a few think about it tips that are sort of what helped me, specifically me in my position, decrease my purchasing. I'm not trying to be Scroogey. I'm not trying to save like every penny. That's not the point. The point being, am I spending my resources? And money is really energy. Energy is really our time. We convert our time into money. That's the whole point of working. That's how we get from point A to point B. We give up our time, convert it into money, and then we spend that money. So where you put your dollars really actually matters quite a lot, because that's your time, and time is the most limited, most precious resource you have. So think 15,000 times before you put your money into stupid crap that you're not going to care about in the next 45 minutes, basically. Save your time. Save your time and use it wisely. Save your money and use it wisely, because that's your life. That's your life ticking away 1 second at a time, or 1 minute at a time. What's the quote from Fight Club? Fight Club is a recurrent theme in this video. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, let me know. Like I said, this is a very new format for me. This is not something I've filmed before, and I'm interested to get your feedback on whether you're interested in that sort of stuff. For me, it's important to be thinking and having a more intentional approach to my life than what I had in my mid-20s to late 20s. I was very wasteful. I don't recommend doing that. And I think that I could have avoided a lot of problems in my life if I was a little bit more intentional. I'd be further along. Anyway, what I'm saying is, think about what you're doing and think why, and think what else you can do to improve your situation. That's it for today. See you guys later. Have a good day.